so here it is, the moment you've been waiting for. We are finally going to break down writing this final essay. So, at this point, you know everything that there is to know about a good, solid piece of persuasive academic writing. We have looked at types of analysis. We have looked at things like comparison and description and definition and process and evaluation and classifications. We've looked at methods of proof. We've looked at fallacies and rhetoric. We've looked at purpose and audience and context. So at this point, it's time to put all of that together into your main writing. So this final essay, you are going to you're going to look at what it is that you've read over the course of the semester, the essays that have interested you, and you're going to write a research paper. So, I'm going to actually, before I continue on, I'm going to look at the assignment. Okay, so what I want you to do is choose at least 2 primary sources from the readings folder, and I want you to come up with some kind of persuasive argument. Basically, you're going to engage in that broader context, right? So what? What is important about this topic? What do you want to convince me about? The essay should be about 1,500 words, about 5 to 6 pages. This doesn't include a works cited, okay? So if you're at 1,498 words and you still have to include your works cited, don't worry about that. That is fine. And it will be in MLA citation, okay? It's due Saturday, April 9th. Please also remember that before you hand in your final essay, you need to engage in this peer review. So, final research paper. This is the stages of essay writing. Okay, I've broken it down into 7 stages. Well, actually, Laura and Roger Davis, Doctors Davis and Davis, broke it down into these 7 stages, and they work great. So this is basically what it is that you are going to do over the next couple of weeks to produce a solid piece of writing. First, I want you to clarify your essay topic, right? So you've read some work, and now I want you to think about what is it that you are interested in, what topic are you interested in, and what do you want to persuade me about or teach me about. From there, you are going to gather some materials, okay? So you're going to choose your couple of essays from the reading folder. Those are your primary sources. You're going to read them, you're going to take some notes, do some free writing, gather some ideas, and then do some research. You will formulate a thesis statement. So we've talked about thesis statements. That's your reader's signpost about what it is that you are going to be arguing, what is your position, and what are the points. Then you will write your draft. Then you will do some revision. You want to revise the essay as a whole, make sure that it is organized properly and that all of your material flows well and that your thesis statement relates to what you've written. Then you revise your individual paragraphs, so think about that paragraph hamburger. Then finally you look at sentence structure and word order and grammar and all that kind of stuff. So please notice that editing for sentence structure is the last thing you do. So if you are obsessing over writing the perfect sentence in stage 4, okay, knock it off. This stage is the quick and dirty stage. It's the shitty first draft stage. All right, don't worry about your perfect sentence structure until the very end. Okay, so here's another way of looking at it, right? So if this 7 stages is a little bit too much for you, let's maybe try and break it down into 3. So you're gonna plan, then you're gonna write, then you're gonna have your peer review, and then you're going to revise. All right, lean on your classmates for support and help here. So this is the same sort of idea as I had in the first slide, but maybe a little bit more palatable for some of you, right? So first, plan. What is it that you're going to write about? Second, read your essays that you've chosen, grab some peripheral resources and some research, evaluate all of that, make a plan, make an outline. Then write your thesis statement, organize all of those notes that you've taken into what you think might make sense for an essay. Write that shitty draft. Don't worry about your conclusion and your introduction until the end. I strongly recommend that you write your introduction last. How are you supposed to write about what you're going to write about unless you've written it already? So I recommend body paragraphs, then conclusion, then introduction. At that point, trade with your partner and go through the peer review checklist. Remember, this is a 2-part workshop. So you go through the part A of the checklist, you exchange your essays, you go through your partner's essay, you fill out part A or part 1 of the checklist, you exchange that feedback to each other, you take in the feedback that your partner has written, you make some revisions, and then you trade again. After that, then it's time for some final revision. So, thinking about research, okay? So this is the other sort of stages of writing that I think is useful to think about. So, again, you're going to choose your topic based on what you've read that you're interested in. In terms of rewrite the assignment in your own words, don't worry about that. That's not necessarily applicable here. But what is still applicable is that you think about your key terms, right? So what are those sort of terms or phrases or ideas that are going to be important to really understand and to define? From there, I think it's really important that your primary sources, you read them 3 times. So the first time, you just read it just to take it in, right? You read it for fun. The second time, as you are reading the essay, I want you to take notes. And these notes can be anything from, oh, wow, that's cool, to, I don't agree with that because, to, I don't understand what this word means, I need to look it up. Okay, I want you to take notes, have a conversation with your essay. And then the third time you read it through, I want you to read not so much the essay as the conversation that you had with the essay. Okay? And from there, you should be able to start to see where you need to fill in some gaps of your understanding, what you're really passionate about and you really want to expand on, things like that. From there, after you've read, now you do some free writing, some brainstorming, okay? Some quick and dirty drafts. Remember your methods of analysis, right? Your compare and contrast, your narration, your process, your description, evaluation, all of that kind of stuff, right? What is it that you are trying to do? From there, you write your thesis statement, and now you can really get into, okay, a serious draft of your essay. But remember, at this point, we're not trying to write the most perfect, clean thing you've ever done, right? You are allowed to still be shitty. Research it's really important that you look at research as filling in the gaps of your understanding. Okay? So, what I want to try and clarify here is the difference between a primary source and research. So, on the essay assignment, I say use at least 2 essays as the for your argument. Okay, those are your primary sources. So I have a few examples here of pairings that work really well for sort of 2 essays that are in that reading folder that would be good as the foundation of your argument. So why women still can't have it all and why men still can't have it all, that's an excellent pairing. They're designed to be together, right? Topics or subject matter of hunger and my body is a cage of its own making. There's really interesting things that you can build upon from both of those to create an argument about eating disorders and trauma, or power and food, things like that. So you can see how I've got these essays they pair nicely together. So these are primary sources. They are the 2 essays that you are going to use as the foundation, solid, main basis of your argument to support your ideas. The research is all of the stuff that you look at in order to fill in the gaps of your understanding. So, for example, if you want to write your essay about why women still can't have it all and why men still can't have it all, those are your primary resources. That's where you're going to pull a lot of your evidence. However, you might also want to look up some definitions of feminism or some information about wage gaps and gender, things like that. Maybe you want to look up some statistics about eating disorders or trauma if you're looking at hunger and my body is a cage of its own making. Testimonials, very good research. Different articles about social media and mental health, or the psychology of how the brain changes when we look at pictures on Instagram, things like that. So again, your primary sources are those articles that are in the reading folder, and your research is the additional stuff that you look up in order to fill in the gaps of your understanding and give a bit more evidence to your argument. When I talk about constructing your thesis, remember that I'm not giving 4 options for a research paper and letting you choose one of those 4. Everybody's read something a little bit different in this class. That means that I want you to come to me with what your argument is and what you want to write about. So many of you have already come to me with a topic, but I encourage you to go a little bit further. What is your main idea? What's your position? And what are the points you're using to discuss them? So this is some guiding help to help you think about your essay topic and your tentative thesis. All right, so some kind of guiding question. It can be something like, what's the relationship between these 2 things? How does A change B? What is the impact of social media on teenagers? Okay, those are really good guiding questions, and many of you have already come to me with those ideas, so that's great. Now I want you to think about formulating those thesis statements in that more kind of formal way, right? So think about templates, right? This is a really good way of creating that tentative thesis statement, right? So blank is true because A, B, and C, right? Now, I keep saying tentative thesis statement because when you get to revision, which I have in a couple of slides here, I want you to remember that if you feel like your entire essay does not quite fit your thesis statement, don't change your entire essay, change your thesis statement. It is okay if your thesis statement changes, as long as by the time you are finished writing, everything still can kind of reference back to that one main idea. Okay, organizing. Just a couple of things that I want to point out. Okay, so we all know about that body, that five paragraph essay, introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. I want you to think about focus, right? Paragraph focus. So this is a couple of ways that you can do that, right? If you want to, your 2 primary sources, and you want to start by totally talking about hunger and talking about all of that until you exhaust it, and then move on to My Body is a Cage of Its Own Making and completely talk about that in its entirety, that is an option. You could also talk about each point, right? And this is the one that we probably are more used to. I don't know why I have point 1.1.1. That should be point 1.2.3. But this is that more structure that we're pretty used to, right? So like point 1, what does it say about it in the first essay? What does it say about it in the second essay? Then move on to point 2. What does the first essay say? What does the second essay say? Then move on to point 3. So think about the way that you are organizing it. Plan ahead for this. Don't just give me a stream of consciousness and then assume it's good enough. After you are finished writing the bulk of what you have to say, then go back and write your introduction and conclusion, right? So just a couple of little quick snippets of what's an introduction, what's a conclusion. Okay, revision. I have on Blackboard a copy editing proofreading checklist. I encourage you to have a look at that. That is what you are doing at the very end. All right, so you've gone through, you've done your draft, you've written your argument, then you're going to read your whole essay through and decide, do all of these points that I'm arguing fit with my thesis? If yes, awesome. If no, do I need to change what I'm arguing, or do I just need to change my thesis? Am I writing an evaluation essay or a comparison essay? And the way that I've organized my paragraphs, does that fit with that method of organization? After that, you organize your paragraphs, right? So what is the most important point? Where do I want it to be? Does each paragraph contain a self-contained hamburger, or are there sentences in there that don't belong in there? After that, then you revise the sentence structure. And this is where we get sentences, subjects and verbs, active and passive voice, all of that kind of grammar stuff that you've done. So, to go back to the assignment, okay, you are writing a 1,500 word research paper, 5 to 6 pages. You are looking at a couple of the essays that you have read from the readings folder. You're choosing 2 of them that work together, that pair nicely as your primary sources. You are engaging in the material that is in those sources by coming up with your own argument. That argument is structured through a thesis statement that says something to the effect of, this is true because A and B and C, or blank is important because 1, 2, and 3, or on one hand, this is good because blah, on the other hand, it's not good because of blah, and in the end, we need to be careful about X. And then you are organizing your essay in the spirit of the method of analysis that you think is best. So whether it's comparison, whether it's evaluation, whether it is analyzing the different parts that make something work, whether it's looking at the process of something, you are providing evidence, you are having well-constructed paragraphs that look like hamburgers, your sentence structure is clean, you have done a peer review and handed that in, and you are producing something that has a good, clear argument and demonstrates the techniques and the ideas that we have learned in this course. Easy peasy. If you have any other questions or concerns, or you want to run anything by me, please do send me an email. I am far more available now than I was a week ago. Best of luck. Thank you very much. Truly enjoyed reading all of your work, and I look forward to reading more of it in the next coming weeks.